Hidden Object Guru here, joined by.
The Gun Wrangler.
And we're back with more The Vulcan Affair, the volcano-themed level in Viscera Cleanup Detail, where you throw all of the trash into a pool with sharks with lasers on their heads to deal with it. Which I think is the best garbage disposal system they've come up with in this game. Is that going too far?
I think so.
Yeah, like, don't get me wrong, I loved the Halloween portals. Like, I thought that was a really cool idea. But I think this is better than the Halloween portals. I don't think that's overselling things. Of course, we're also here to discuss a couple of shows that we've been watching. For example, there was 3 more episodes of Travelers to check out. And then, of course, our favorite show, Counterpart.
Oh, yes.
But let's start with Travelers, shall we? Okay, so we watched episodes 4 through 6 of Travelers. And these were... Well, there's a lot going on.
Yeah. It kind of feels like they stepped off the established path, took a breather.
And now things are really moving, I think is fair to say.
After
because...
that... Ooh. All right, we'll get into it.
Yeah, we'll get into it. Okay, so... First off, we got episode 4, where we get the reappearance and, sadly, final appearance of Amanda Tapping as the new body of Enrico Colantoni, Traveler 001. At the start of the episode, she is kidnapped by faction people, and we learn something really, really interesting. Because last year, I was questioning whether there was already a team up between the faction people and Traveler 001, or whether that should happen, and that's come to pass finally. But they tell us a fact that I did not see coming and deeply puzzles me. According to them, Traveler 001 is responsible for the existence of the faction in the future?
Yeah.
How?
They view him as sort of a role model, I guess. Being like, oh, well,
do they?
You can defy.
Or did he literally start it?
I think it's more of a figurehead.
Maybe. But they're talking about him like he founded the faction. So I'm just wondering, is it just a figurehead? Is it just the idea of him? Or... because he has brain transfer equipment, is some version of him still around in the distant, distant future?
I'm of the belief that he's more of a figurehead.
Okay.
Like, if you see a teenage douchebag with a Chase shirt, you know what you're in for.
Wow. Okay. That is an interesting thing to compare it to, but okay. I don't know if that would have been my first stop.
Why are there always bodies on here?
I put them there. If you're talking about the elevator, I'm up on the top level, dropping bodies on you for you to drop them into the fish tank. I thought you would have figured that out after the first time.
Oh, no. I'm like, all right, well...
It's true, I did not warn you. You're absolutely right. I probably should have warned you about the corpses that were coming your way. In fact, I'm coming and dropping another body down on you now. So there you go. It did not occur to me for a second, the kind of weird situation that was creating for you. But anyway, yeah, maybe. I think it's ambiguous as to whether he's still around or not, but you're more, it's just an idea of what he represents than anything else. Which, like, I get why you would say that, and there's definitely text to support that. But, they have a bold idea. They want him to take charge, and they want to use his mind transfer technology to accomplish something that we're not sure about yet. But they essentially contrive a situation where, in order to survive, in order to stay alive, he's going to have to reveal the mind transfer technology to them, or perhaps just kill all of them, which, to their credit, they do offer him as an option. So they're not, they're not cowards. They're not terrible at this. Although I got to say, part of the episode that really bugged me was the idea that part of it that really just bugged me was the idea that he did not at all. How shall I put this?
Into it.
Yeah, I know. Like it was kind of weird.
Well, I think after a certain point, Traveler 001 just wanted to be left alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
After everything went down, maybe it was time for him to just be able to take a break and live this relatively quiet life with his money and his family. That would have been nice. But no, he did not get to do that. Well, and that's the thing. After he's uncovered, pretty much now that he knows everything that's going on with the Traveler program from, all the people he murdered, there's actually a pretty good chance that he knows that he was relatively safe from them all along and going forward. Like, the director wasn't coming after him anymore. So now
there's no point in it.
Exactly. There was no reason to go after him anymore, so he was pretty much in the clear. But and I know it's so they can have an action scene, but the faction people do one of the dumbest things I've seen in ages, which is, so their whole plan is let Traveler 001 call for backup and bring the brain machine, and then they'll team up, right? But the people who are for that happening, I guess, don't tell their guards that that's their plan. So it's like the warehouse is surrounded by people with guns who start shooting when when Traveler 001's people show up, when the twins and company show up. And I'm like, should you not have given your own guys a heads up about, priorities? Because you guys are all getting killed when there's no reason to be fighting here. In fact, Traveler 001 is more likely to go along with your plan if all of you put down your guns and put up your hands and say, we surrender. And I know it's because they want to increase the tension and have a gunfight, but it was not a well-motivated gunfight within the world of the show. And that kind of bothered me a little.
Well, it's also something that's bothered me about Traveler 001 anyways.
Yeah?
There has to be a real short supply of mute commandos.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, there really can't be that many out there. Although, after the death of most of his mute commandos, it's possible that these guys just don't talk. Or, I gotta say, maybe, this is a crazy idea, maybe he pays you enough money that you're willing to cut out your tongue.
Maybe not your tongue, maybe just clip your vocal cords.
That could work too.
That seems like a much more efficient way of doing it.
Probably, yeah.
Because I really like tasting things.
That's
and
true.
So do most people.
Yes, most people are particularly fond of the act of tasting. You're absolutely right. And they would likely not want to give that up. But maybe he's paying them enough money to do that. Like, he's got unlimited resources, so, there's a chance. But yeah, it's an interesting episode. They kind of resolve some stuff with Eric McCormick and his wife. I mean, not resolve, but at least they move to a direction where he can continue getting his way out of this thing. And more importantly, Carly's husband finally gets what was coming to him for, seasons now. So that's good.
Yep. Because, I mean...
an
interesting twist. I didn't see him being overridden. I saw him, just dying.
Yeah, no, you predicted he was going to die last time we were here. But no, she contrived a situation where the director was forced to override him. And that's an interesting, because we saw that happen last time with the Alex Jones character. Where, I mean, obviously, that was all part of the director's plan. It's not like they caused that to happen, but at the same time, you're watching a scene where, he is, Eric McCormick is provoking him just before he gets wiped out. And here, we know, because we immediately see it through Philip's ability to see alternate timelines now, we know that Carly created a situation where they were going to kill each other. meaning he had to step in. And that really interested me because I guess the director has to protect the team. So now we know, at least Philip knows, that they kind of know, but that Philip definitely knows that if they can create a situation where they can get someone to try to kill them, the director will overwrite that person. That's information that might come back up later. And I'm interested to see how it's going to play out. Also, I just really want to know what's going on with that new traveler.
Yep. Well, I can tell you this.
Yeah?
You've made a real dog's breakfast of this one.
Really? That is a lot of corpses down there. But yeah, I want to know, like, what's going on with that new traveler? Like, why did they just send one guy? Why does he not have a team? Is he, like, because if he was a replacement, that would be one thing, but he's just sent on his own. And we see him being sent as backup, right, for one of their jobs, but that's all we know about him so far. And he really does seem, how do I put this, not as bad as the faction guys seemed, of not being on the ball. But we got the news with his arrival that there have been 2,000 more travelers since he got sent. Since the team got sent. Like, they've been there a year, and there have been 2,000 more travelers sent. That's interesting. And I want to know more about that going forward. Like, where are all these teams going? And, again, how have the changes happened? Like, what have the changes been in the future?
Or what's the attrition level on all these traveler teams?
That's a really good question, too. Because, yeah, a lot of them get a lot of the... we will always remember, they blew what? 12 travelers in the skydiving episode just to keep the team alive? Something like that? Like 12 people? So, how many times are things like that happening? Like that, things like that could be happening more often than we realize. And I know that because of the way time travel in the future works, they have plenty of opportunities to deal with this. But at the same time, that's a scary idea going in. Hey, speaking of, an AI turns up this time.
Yeah, I felt like that was kind of a throwaway episode. I didn't like it.
Really? You didn't enjoy the AI episode with the what do you call it? With the nuclear test facility, with the nuclear power facility? Because it opens up stuff for Trevor going forward.
It does, but it just seems, I don't know.
You felt like it was just a I think there's potential to do an interesting thing with Trevor because again he's been through more mind transfers than anybody else. And now he's had his brain repacked. So, again, I think this is a big flashing arrow pointed as problems for him for the future. But it didn't resonate with you in one way or another?
Yeah, because okay, yes, I understand that Trevor's got problems and he's old. He's the old man.
Yeah. But
I don't know. The AI just seems sort of not great.
Yeah, well, I mean, the question becomes, like, the AI, is it going to be an issue later? Because not only has it blended a bit with the director, but now that AI has also infected the AI that the Doctor was building. Which does create this weird situation where he's now got this ridiculous monster chimera AI.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where that just is full of, now 3 different parts, but who the hell knows what it's going to turn into going forward.
Yeah, what's the ratios here?
Well, yeah, and as we were saying last time, like, the only way for the director to survive is to create a permanent director that's constantly locked into the system. So you kind of understand where the faction is coming from. I'm not saying they're making a persuasive argument. They have not they have not demonstrated an ability to fix anything either, right?
In
But
fact,
and
their jam seems to be strictly breaking things.
it's true, you know. And it's like, well, we need the ability of humans to decide what to do, and that'll fix things. And I'm like, but it didn't fix things the first time. Although then again, the first time the problem was largely caused by a meteor hitting the planet.
Yeah.
So that kind of was out of their hands, now that I think about it. So who knows if human ingenuity could have fixed all of the other problems, but at the same time, I doubt that the director is the one who is causing humanity's problems from then on. Unless, of course, as we've theorized, the director's need to stay alive means the director has to keep the future terrible until it is established enough of a formal presence in the past to create a constant forever director, which I think is its goal.
Mm, I could go either way, to be honest.
Yeah? You're not willing to say that that is definitely what the director has in mind?
I think the director is
All right.
very much a tool. It's like, are you going to ascribe malice to your calculator? Yeah, we're gonna need more buckets.
Yeah, I was just trying to get them, but arms keep coming out. And while I'm fine with arms in the distributors in the horror and sci-fi levels, here in a James Bond level, the arms in the bucket distributor doesn't really make the most sense.
I'm going to have to point out that in most cases, supervillains aren't OSHA compliant.
So maybe even still that kind of thing could be happening. Well, no, and you say that it's just a machine, but again, it's a machine that, what do you call it? We don't know what the machine's parameters are.
Okay,
All right, let's head
let's
upstairs
go.
and start bucketing things. So that's ground floor. Here we go. Whoa. Actually, all the buckets look largely fine. I was worried this was going to be a disaster, but way to go, buckets. All right, you start moving them out so I don't kick them over. But anyway, we don't know what the director's technical goals are yet, like what all
Nope,
of the
that's okay.
criteria are for success of the director. And because we don't have that information, we can't say what it values, what it's going to keep doing. That's why I keep thinking that the director might be willing to keep the future terrible, because if the future gets fixed, the director stops existing, and then everything goes off the rails from the director's point of view. And the question of whether there's always going to be a director, I swear, is going to come up and going to be a big thing. Now that especially we see that the main goal of the mutineers, right, of the faction is human-guided government, human-guided governance of, you know, like them going forward as a species. I gotta say, it seems to me like the question of whether there always has to be a director is going to come up. And that's why, and I maintain that that's why they're getting so deep into the idea of how fallible is the director. Because that's been coming up a lot this season.
Yeah, that's a fair point.
Which I think that means it's time to get to the big episode this week. Philip and all the other librarians in the Seattle area get kidnapped. Whew. I use something DM uses all the time. At what point did you figure out what was going on? Right away or sooner? Like,
Yeah.
not for a second do you not realize that Justin Lewis's team has betrayed him. Of course Justin Lewis's team has betrayed him. Like, how else can you assume anything else is going on in this story? Poor Justin Lewis. He was such a fun presence on the show.
Yep, especially after his, like, I've seen him act comedically on like Letterkenny, and he's actually very
he's on
fun.
Letterkenny?
Yeah,
I didn't know that. Wow, I should check that show out. I'm a big fan of
It's-
Justin Lewis. I have been for decades now, and he's a very talented comedic actor. And he's a good dramatic actor too. Like, he's been in a lot of shows for a lot of years. He is one of those things who you will always see in Canadian television. Like, he is an unavoidable presence in Canadian television. And I really liked him on this show. I've talked about his presence before, and I think he was really great, and I'm sad to see him go. But it does bring up some questions, that episode, which is the one thing I didn't see coming, and I guess I probably should have, was, yeah, the traveler support group thing was the victims of travelers support group thing was a plan by the faction to get as much information as possible, like to get all of the leads they can, because as they say, they have no librarians, they have no support, so what they need is all of the information they can get, and the best way they could think to get it was starting a support. Well, one of the best ways they could think to get it was starting a support group for people who believe themselves to be victims of travelers. That's a neat idea. I like that.
That is cool, but you got to figure some of these people are fucking crazy.
Oh no, and I'm sure they knew that. Like, I'm sure they knew that going in. You know, it's like there are people who have the mental disorder of literally thinking that everyone around them has been replaced by aliens. Like, that's a known mental disorder that people have. Or like, and now, I think one of my favorite stories was, so, I don't remember if it was Amazing Stories or one of the other magazines, right? Did this story in like the 1930s. The science fiction story called The Ray People, right? And basically the story was that was about this guy who, like, aliens were shooting beams from out of space that were controlling his actions, and he was like trying to figure out a way to stop them, blah 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 blah, right? And so the magazine, after that story runs, starts getting inundated by letters
saying, "Oh, this happened
saying,
to me.
This has happened to me. This is happening." Because what the writer had done without realizing it was describe what it feels like to have a certain kind of schizophrenia. Right? To have, it feels like you are not in control of your actions and that an outside force is making you do things. And he had completely by accident stumbled into a perfect analogy for that kind of schizophrenia.
Yeah, for paranoid schizophrenia.
Exactly. Right? And in the same way, I think this whole idea of travelers, there's a known kind of mental problem where you think your loved ones have been replaced by monsters or robots or however you define it, but it's like you think that they are a different person for one reason or another, and that one day they've just been replaced. And travelers, again, it's the perfect
analogy.
Trigger. It's the perfect analogy. Thank you. I used analogy just a second ago. Couldn't get it then. It's the perfect analogy for that mental problem. So, of course, in this world, there will be all sorts of people thinking that this has happened. And, you know, cases where people are going to ask for a divorce because they think their spouse has been replaced.
Oh, there's been subtle changes. Well, maybe, bitch, she's having an affair. Maybe he's just not happy with your banal, asinine existence.
Wow. Things just got real. Okay. Seriously, no, it's nice. No,
I just have no tolerance for that one who's just like, oh, well, he stopped being the caring man.
I know. She was the worst.
I was like, well, did you stop sucking his dick? Boom.
There you go. Well, at least someone's willing to get real with it, so bravo.
Yes.
It's an interesting idea, and I just like that that's how they were running things. And, okay, am I crazy? I didn't go back and check. The guy who has a brain explosion, right? Is that the same guy from the previous update? That Philip met in the previous update, who, you know, talked about how many times he had been updated?
I'm not sure.
Yeah, because I thought it was, but I didn't go back and check. Because I thought that would have been a nice tie-in, especially since Philip is starting to have doubts about the situation.
Well, he's always had doubts.
But they're getting bad enough that he's decided that he wants to know what the alternate futures are. And that's really dangerous. Because the yellow drugs, the yellows, they center him on this reality, and they keep him seeing the branching universes, and he's like, yeah, I'm not taking those anymore.
Well, I like how, you know, the entire team's like, oh, well, what are these pills you're taking? And he's like, the director gave them to me. Oh, I don't believe you.
It's true. Although, in their defense, the first time he went through this, he was just like a drug addict, right?
Yep.
And the second time he went through this, it was a faction person giving him drugs. So they are right to be skeptical. Like, yes, this time he actually did get them as an approved treatment from the director, who feels that the team can't know that he's able to see potential different futures playing out. Mm-hmm. But I understand why they're skeptical when dealing with him. Although, I gotta say, there's a line in this episode that does suggest that, well, your idea that maybe they did kill the kid gets some reinforcement this week.
Yeah.
And so I might have been wrong about that one. That they just played... It's entirely possible that they did just play a double game on him. And that kid is, in fact, dead. So, yeah. Because, what do you call it? One of the faction people certainly thinks that's the case. And, of course, the faction people haven't had any new information for a long time. So they might not know. But it got brought up in once again, which suggests there's a chance you might be right about that one. I still want to be optimistic. But
I'm just going to point out that the director isn't known for, changes of heart.
No, that's true. Although, again, he keeps letting Traveler 001 go for one reason or another. So
I'm going to pitch some garbage down to you.
Okay. I will bring it right over to the tank. But yeah, you're right that we didn't have the biggest moves this week. I really liked the episode with all of the... librarians. I thought that was an interesting move forward. We learned more about what the faction's up to. Although I gotta say, man, those faction guys get killed a lot.
Yeah.
And I know there's 3,000 of them to start with, but they just get wiped out constantly. Every time they show up, we see a dozen of them getting gunned down. And yeah, that's because they didn't have good training or anything, but oof.
They're just people who decided, I'm going to go back in time and save the world.
Yeah, without any real plan for how to make that happen.
Yep.
Say what you will about the director, he's got a plan in mind. He's got ops, and he's got operators who are trained to do them.
Yes, his operators are operating at tier 1.
Oh, God. Jesus, tier 1.
Tier 1 operators all the way, just constantly operating at operational ways all the time.
Very funny. But anyway, it's so yeah, I think there's a lot of interesting stuff this week. I'm very fascinated to see where it goes because we've got some big stuff coming as we move towards the season ender, I assume. I mean, you can tell me one thing. I don't want to know because I know you've watched the rest of the season already, and so you got to be a little stum about a lot of this. But are we at least going to see the body that 001 is in this season? Because I'm assuming we are. That's a yes?
Yes.
All right, well, don't tell me, and then let's move forward. Is it the director of the FBI? No, that would make no sense. Sorry. It's a very dumb question.
I'm not going to bother responding to that one.
No, it's too dumb a question. It's just I want David Cubitt back. I'm a big fan of that guy ever since Traitors. And he put in his 7 years on Medium, so I thought, he put in his 7 years as the cop on Medium. Is he going to get another show? And then he never got another show. And I'm like, no, come on, David Cubitt. We miss you. Come back to TV. But anyway, let's move on to what continues to be the most impressive show on television, Counterpart.
Oh, yes.
All right, so read us into this episode.
Okay. All we know is, at the beginning, Howard is in prison.
Oh, poor Howard.
Yep. His wife, or rather, his other's wife, is running amok. Basically running by the seat of her pants. Trying to figure out what's going on and what went wrong in all of this. And, the Indigo group continues to plot and scheme on
We've,
our side of the world.
and their side, too. And their
So,
side, too, because it's not one of our people of management they kill. It's one of the alternate side's people of management that she kills. And we found out at the end of last week's episode how management communicates, which is they have seemingly completely ordinary lives, and then each one of them has a communicator, that allows them to communicate with each other and with the station. And she knows who at least one person of management is. I mean, presumably she knows who all of management are. We're talking, just to be clear, we're talking about the woman in charge of Indigo,
yes.
the terrorist in charge of Indigo that their side created in order to have a backstop and a massive advantage. And now she has gotten completely out of their control, and everything's going to hell because they seemingly tried to shut down her actions, and she kept the actions going. She decided she knew better than management, and now she's trying to get rid of management, so for what is presumably a full takeover of their side.
I don't even think it's a matter of takeover.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's more she's getting rid of people who know that the program exists and is in fact still going.
That's possible, although honestly, I think I think that bell cannot be unrung since all of operations now know about the program. Like the school has been uncovered, right? And she is like, it's there's no putting that genie back in the bottle.
No.
Like everybody knows this is happening now, and oof, could something that really frustrated me. Like I so wanted to see who their son was. In this episode, we check in with a couple who turned their son over to the program to turn into a double and replace somebody on the other side, but we don't get a good look at the picture of who the son is. I'm like, oh, damn it.
Here, take some of the water down with you.
Oh, okay. Have you got a bunch of dirty water?
No. I just don't need that much clean water. There's not that much blood up here.
Gotcha. All right. But yeah, I was so frustrated, and I mean, I know that's the whole thing, but show me who the son is, god damn it. I went back and I freeze framed it just to try and see if I could make out any details, and they just don't leave the picture on screen long enough.
Mm-hmm.
Or with enough detail, and I'm like, oh, you're so good at this show. So good at tantalizing us. And we find out what was going on. Okay, I'm blanking on her name. What is the name of the woman in charge of Indigo? I wanted to say Mira, but that's not it.
I think it is actually Mira.
Oh, it is Mira? Okay, there you go. So Mira's partner there,
Aldous. No,
Aldous.
not Aldous.
No, not Aldous. But Aldous, yeah, no, it's Aldous.
No, it isn't. Because Aldous is like, remember that guy, the former head of House
Aldrich.
You're right.
Yeah, that was Aldrich. This is Aldous, which is... I understand how you get those two names confused. They're basically the same name. But anyway, Aldous. Last year, I'm like, well, he's turning over information to our side, right? And we didn't know exactly how or why or what the detail was. But now we know it has something to do with Claire.
You mean Emily?
Emily, Jesus Christ. Well, we're both screwing up names today. Now we know it has something key to do with our side's Emily. That's the one who turned him in one way or another. Because we don't know... So, that's who he was leaving the cards for, like the IDs for. And had Emily not been involved in a car accident, had Pope not tried to kill her on this side, there's a possibility she might have stopped the attack.
We don't actually know if it's this Claire, because remember, at the end of this episode, we have that scene with Emily Prime trying to remember shit.
Yes, that's true. But Emma, like we've got the interesting idea because we got Emily on their Emily, confirming that, yeah, our Emily, from our side, it's so hard to say, Prime Emily was on the other side. Like, she did go to the other side. So that's significant. I think that's pretty significant.
I think so too.
Yeah, like that's a huge piece of new information. And I mean, I don't know that she's necessarily a good guy. The show has been few and far between in having good guys, but I think the preponderance of evidence suggests between him leaving the files, presumably for someone connected to her, right? And the fact that Pope, who we know is a bad guy, in fact, you know, as bad as it comes, it turned out, tried to have her killed, at least gives us reason to suspect she's not as bad as she seems. And she's pretty bad. But
yeah. This entire show runs on suspicion.
It does.
And that's the key thing.
It really oh my god, does it ever, because and how great was Howard and Emily's scene together.
Yep.
Oh my god.
And he's just crushed.
Oh. Like, yeah, and just his belief that things would have turned out differently if he had had all of the information that the other side's Howard had had. I'm like, oh, you poor dummy. You don't get it, do you?
Well, that's it. We actually found the point where the two of them turned.
Yeah, we've got the key point. Oh god. Yeah, and it's just like if you ever wondered if what turned Howard into Howard was him finding out, well, no, like the proof is there now, because we found out that Howard went through the exact same career humiliations that our Howard went through. Like the exact same stuff happened to him. Like, we suspected it was him finding out and her telling him that turned him into this monster. And yeah, 100% it was.
Yep.
Like, that ship has sailed. There is no other possible interpretation of the facts. And oh god, what a downer that was. But what the hell is going on? So she gets the agreement to bring him out of jail, right?
Yeah.
And then she doesn't take him out of jail. And I know there's emotional stuff going on between the two of them, but come on. Get him out of there and then worry about this stuff. Especially because, oh, look, the interrogator's working for Mira too.
Yep.
God damn it.
Mind sending me up a couple of garbage
Where are the garbage bins? I will, but where are they? Do you remember where the garbage bin maker was? Is it in, like, the big box room? Or do you not have any idea?
I do not have any idea.
Okay, well, we know... Oh, wait, no, they're in the basement, aren't they? Yeah, they're in the basement. I just remembered. Yeah, no, I'll go to some garbage bins. Yeah, and I just remembered that you're the only one who can carry the garbage bins because of client-side physics do not do well when I try to move anything that has stuff contained in it. You sent me down that thing full of bullet casings, and let's just say the bullet casings did not stay in the bucket. I will... I can report that the bullet casings ended up everywhere other than in the bucket. There we go. I got it. Yeah, it's interesting because you can't trust anybody here. Well, except for R. Howard. I mean, it's like R. Howard, because we've been with him the entire time from his finding out about this stuff. Right up until now, we do know exactly where R. Howard is coming from. And I like that about him. Like, I like that we can at least trust who Howard is and what Howard wants, because he's been very... I mean, he has less guile in him than every other character in the show.
He has significantly less guile, yes.
Yeah. And so it's like, you can call it up now. Oh, no, wait, I can send it up to you. What am I saying? I forgot there was a button on the outside. There we go. Oh, God. Disgusting stuff all over the floor underneath the elevator for me to clean up. Oh, including a severed head. Thank you. Great game. Good work. But anyway, as I was saying, yeah, it's interesting to me because you do, for as much as this show keeps you guessing and keeps you on your toes, we do have a point of grounding. Like, we do have a 100% grounded thing in Howard. Like, we know who Howard is, we know what Howard wants, we know where he's coming from, and we don't always know exactly how he's going to jump, but as he said this time, we know he's so dedicated to his wife that is it. He killed Pope. And he's like, I'll kill you too. And the guy doesn't take him seriously, but I'm like, well, he crushed a guy's head with a fireplace poker, so I would take him seriously.
I would, in fact, take him quite seriously.
Like, he murdered a spy master with a fireplace poker. Send it back down when you're done, because I'm trapped here in the basement when you've unloaded them.
All right, go for it.
Thank you. But yeah, it's like, no, like, you can't... I understand why you don't want to take him seriously, but you should. You really, really should. Oh, God. No, Howard's the best. Our Howard really is... he's a treasure. I'm a big fan of him, especially...
Derping his way through...
He's
like this
he's stumbling around.
Cold War spy ground.
There's a giant friggin', conspiracy, and the whole world is not what he thought it was, and he's trying so hard, and I love that about him.
I like the fact that he's so
hard.
Guileless that he's like, well, I get paid a lot of money to just read random shit to another person.
Yep, that's fine by me.
Okay, whatever.
I assume what I'm doing is important. And you know what? Turns out what he was doing was important. But yeah, it is weird how he could be so, but then again, in the world of this show especially, like, he knows that he's working in high-level intelligence, and he's just become a guy who accepts the fact that he's never going to know what that high-level intelligence is, which is what's making his journey so satisfying. Like, this is a guy who has spent his whole life knowing that he is working in service of something bigger than himself without being able to even, like, have any opportunity to ask the question what it's for. And now he's getting all the answers, step by step. And God, is that satisfying to watch. And I assume it's going to continue to be going forward.
Oh, yes. I watched episode 3 this morning.
Okay, do not say a goddamn thing. Except to tell me they're not continuing the one episode about one episode about the other nonsense. Like, it goes back to traditional structure, right?
Not quite.
Oh, okay. Then I really want to know what's happening. Oh, all right. Well, I'll watch it tonight.
Well, let's put it like this. You remember how this episode has sort of a focus on Emily?
Yeah.
We go back to our Howard.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right. Now I am interested to see where that goes. Yeah, because Emily has a lot of interesting stuff this week, because it's really about, this whole episode, and I guess I should have made that clear, really is about Emily and Mira and what they're up to. And it has one of my favorite one-scene performances I've seen in a while, and that is the guy who works for management.
Yeah, who's just a dick.
He's such a dick! First off, I love that performance, and what I love most about the performance is the actor's physicality in that performance, because it's like, I love that he's like, I have somewhere to be. Like, and everything about his performance is like, yeah, like, it's annoying that I have to be here having this conversation. There is more important stuff going on that I have to be doing now. And it's kind of annoying to me that I have to sit there and, quote-unquote, make a deal with you when your job is to do what we say. He's just kind of pissy about the whole thing, and I loved his performance in that scene.
Well, even look at his posture when he's sitting there, and he's just sort of, like, slouching and, like, leaning back. And he's just like, all right, whatever.
He has no engagement with her at all. Such a good choice. Like, just such a good choice as an actor, such a good performance. Yeah, and it's just like, because you're trying to get around, because up until now, all of our deals with management have been a guy with headphones on repeating what he is told. Like, they type into a computer, presumably, they type into a computer, and it auto-text reads to him, and he reads that out loud. And that is all we have known about management up until this point. And now we've got someone who actually works for management, and so imperious, such a dick, he's clearly got better things to do. We won't meet again. What a great outline.
His entire attitude is basically shove it.
Yeah, I know. But she gets Howard back. And you know what? I'm sure... I'm so fascinated by their relationship on the show. Like, I really do like their relationship on the show. I like their Emily and our Howard because, again, it's the aspect of the show where, in the same way that, I mean, we still don't know exactly what's going on with our Emily and to what extent she's actually lost her memory, but you look at how other Emily is like tempted by, how badly she screwed up her personal life. How much she regrets the choices she made, and how she does see on some level in this Howard a way to undo that.
Yeah, just an opportunity at redemption almost.
Yeah. Like, you really do see that that's important to her, especially because this Emily, she went to rehab. She has, she has shown a desire to work on her problems in a way that the other Emily on the other side, our Emily, never did that because her problems were always completely secret. Like, Howard never had an idea what was going on with her. So she had a secret second life where she cheated on him all the time to get out all of this stuff. Where, because this Howard left her, she doesn't get to have this, knows all about her and left her. She doesn't have to get this secret other life, so she just became just a crazy drunk. All right? But she went to rehab, and she worked on herself. And she's already gotten to the level of empathy and thinking about her life to make her regret stuff that she's done and wish she had made different choices. And we see that in her scene with Howard, which is why I thought it was one of the most powerful scenes in the episode.
Could you bring me down to the second floor, please?
Of course. No
or
problem.
Actually the first floor.
I assume you're carrying something.
Mm-hmm.
I'm on the first floor right now. I just hit the button, didn't I? Did I? I can't tell. Yay! Let me just grab this from in front of you.
Yep.
Which one do you have?
No, I dropped it. Yep. So I brought some stuff.
Thank you. Okay. Oh, so
Cleaning
that one's already
supplies.
full. Nice. Yeah, I think it's one of the best scenes in the episode. I think it's really well done, and I can't wait to see them develop their story further, especially because they, what do you call it? See how it develops further, especially because, let's face it, they've got so much drama to do with the two couples on both sides. Like, there's so much great opportunity for drama with... You got on one side, both of them coming clean with each other, and on the other side, one of them maybe doesn't remember and the other one's lying. Like, that's fascinating. Like, that dynamic has such an interesting ability to play out in parallel for the rest of the season. And I know you've already seen episode 3, but I'm really fascinated to see how those two relationships continue to contrast each other. Like, that is a pairing that I can't wait to see more about the development of.
You're not good at this.
Oh, this is terrible. I'm just taking
put
the
it
body
in the
downstairs.
elevator.
I'm just putting it in the elevator. I don't care if the blood gets everywhere. That was embarrassing. Yeah, so I'm interested to see where that goes. I think it's going to be interesting, and this show has managed to convince me that they really know what they're doing in the interpersonal stuff. But, yeah, what is... my last question, though, is... What is going on, like... So, the people who were sent back... I'm not saying... They definitely killed Claire's parents, right? But here's the thing. Look at who they sent over.
It's a real possibility.
And I'll tell you what.
They broke a kid's legs.
Yeah, not only did they break a kid's legs, but look at the people whose son got sent over. They're people who worked in the center. They're people who worked in espionage. Meaning, they're doubles on the side. Like, they're in their late 60s. Meaning, their doubles on the other side also worked in espionage, also were high-ranking government people. Like, all of the children selected for this program were people whose parents were either important already or had the potential to become important.
Or even were like baseline workers working at,
yes, just
intelligence.
exactly, baseline workers, people whose kids could easily could be expected to get into positions of power or easily be segued into those positions of power. So it's looking more and more like this didn't just happen to Claire. Like, it looks more and more like the Toby of that world and his wife didn't want to give up their kid to this program and got killed because they didn't want to give up their kid to this program.
I'm not quite on board with that because remember, they did have doubles of like the mailroom people.
They did, but Toby was already on track to become someone high up. Yeah. No, but you're right. They did have doubles of the mailroom people. I agree that is strange. Like, how is it that like a guy who got? I mean, and that's my question. Did the people who were the assassins, right? It's tough because these people were all in their 20s. They were all born after the split, right? And I don't think they got in the mailroom and became Toby's assistant because their parents were high up, which makes me wonder, like, oh, were those people all just guys who they, like, so they know, I have to assume they know the name of everyone who works at, the center. Like, everyone who works at, that's just a fact. They know the name of everyone who works there. And my theory with the sleeper cell, the hit team, is that they just found 3 people. Like, they looked through all the names, they found all the doubles on our side, and they were not, like, lifetime, like, indoctrinates at the school. They were people who they found and could turn and radicalize on our side.
I'm of the opinion
to attack our side.
I'm of the opinion that they're school graduates that were essentially not prioritized to go over.
Yeah, but it is just, it's weird because you can only have a very limited amount of people in the school. And so you get into this realm of coincidence where, like, so these 3, they managed to just luckily have 3 people who ended up working at Spy Central, like, at the crossing. Like, it seems like a bit of a stretch, is why I question it.
That's the thing. I think they found, like, if you look at all 3 positions, it's like personal assistant.
Yeah. Mailroom. Guy who works as a clerk.
So these were probably gimme jobs to kids of...
Yeah, okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Right.
So you're saying it's kind of the thing where they could still be... These ones could still be the children of relatively, if not higher up, then at least...
It's like even mid-placed...
Yeah,
employees.
You're right. You got to have some you're saying you got to have some connection to work in this building. Period.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so they got some mid-level employees, but yeah, sure, they're going to prioritize sending over Claire over mailroom dude.
Yeah, but okay, I see your point, and you're probably right. I'm still a little skeptical that they could have had these people in the program, but there is a good chance that you're right. Like, there is a good chance. But there's also a pretty good chance, now that we find out how they get the candidates, there's also a pretty good chance they killed Claire's parents. There's also a pretty good chance, since we know for a fact that they went to people in intelligence and said, give us your kid for the greater good. Like, by far, the most important kid is Toby's daughter. And I don't know that they would have taken the chance. Oh, Toby and his wife happened to die? Lucky us. No. Now that we know that they go to people and say, give us your kid so we can get ready to put them on the other side in order to win our war against the other side, of course they would have gone to that side's Toby and his wife to approach him for that. And the fact that they're dead, I think suggests that they said no and got killed for their trouble.
Honestly, it could go either way because remember, The flu doesn't discriminate.
The flu doesn't discriminate, but it is incredible. Like, if it is a coincidence, it's an incredibly, like, mind-bogglingly lucky coincidence that it killed the two most valuable people for it to kill, especially since this week we found out that those people would have been on track to have a conversation about sacrificing their daughter for the greater good. So,
yeah.
I still think there's a good chance we're going to find out that it was almost certainly, like, an operation. Yeah. That's right, I have to use a broom. Ugh. I feel like an animal. Oh, no!
What?
So, you know how I was saying that the stuff flies out of the packages and then I have to manually put it in? So I'm like, I'll just use a broom to throw it, to broom it into the shark pit. The little metal ledge around the shark pit keeps the broom from being able to push stuff into it.
Oh, dear.
Oh, so embarrassing. All right, so yeah, the episode's got a lot of great reveals. It's got a lot of interesting stuff opening up, and I can't wait to see what's next.
I know what's next. It's pretty exciting.
Next. It's pretty exciting.
It's a much better episode all around.
Okay. Well, you know what? We're going to be back here talking about it in just a couple of days. So hold back from spoiling it for me, would you?
I think I can do that.
All right. Any final thoughts?
Go
ahead. Hold on one second. Don't move.
Speaking, but okay.
I said hold on for a second.
I feel like we missed a few details on this one.
You think?
I really do.
Okay. How's that?
Just in general, the whole... Remember in the first season how we had to watch things like 3 or 4 times in order to catch all those little details? Like, yeah. There's never more than 3 people from the other side in the same room.
At any time, yeah.
Yeah.
Thus creating this impression that, yeah, the plague is a lot worse than they let on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And leading to why, suddenly census numbers are kind of a big deal.
Mm-hmm. Like why that would be such an important sticking point.
Yeah.
In their negotiations. All right, so is there something, do you think you have an idea, like, of what that is from this season?
I have no clue.
You have no clue what's going to be the big thing yet.
I'm tempted to go and rewatch all 3 episodes this week, just see if I can pick something out.
You know what? I encourage you to do that. Then when I'm going to watch episode 3, and then we're going to see what we see. Because, again, like, look at the place. Well, just look at the place where Emily met the guy from management. Like, look at the room.
Like, almost like an abandoned hotel.
Yeah. Like, that's, like, look at where, like, they meet management on our side versus where they meet management, like, on their, like, where this management meeting happens on the other side. Like, there's nothing there. Like, they've cleared out a room. It is bare concrete walls. It used to be something, and now it's nothing.
Now, yeah, it's an anonymous nothing.
Yeah, and that's interesting. And here's the big question. I think this is I think this is going to turn out to be true. I don't know if you agree with me. I suspect management are the same people on both sides.
I'll one-up you.
Okay.
I think
there's only one management?
There is only one management.
Oh, hell. That's something I considered. That management is actually frigging like 4 guys, 2 on each side.
Yeah. And they're talking to each other.
Yeah.
And they're trying to figure out how to make this work, but they don't actually have any idea of, like, what's a viable solution.
Oh, that's a good question.
Because it could be that...
I thought it was the same people on both sides. Right? That was my first thought about management. But your pitch is... Oh, that's something else.
I'll think about it like this. Both sides are going to be angling... don't destroy those crates, please.
I won't.
both sides management, like both sides of management, are going to be angling to get, a little bit of an advantage for their world.
Of course.
At the same time, um, this is going to lead to an impasse, especially if it's 2-2.
Okay, so maybe there's only one management, and we just think there's
And,
okay
and management is essentially deadlocked.
about what to do about all of this.
Well, that's just it.
Oh, that's a good question. Also, there's been no movement on my big theory from the first season, which is that there is 100% definitely another crossing point. No one has even suggested that theory.
Personally, it's the only way the show can work.
No, it's the only way anything that happened with Pope makes sense is if there's a second crossing point. The fact that frigging our Emily got across to their side, and that didn't come up last year. It seems to me like there has to be a second crossing point, right?
There absolutely does.
Okay, good, because I'm sure of it. All right, well, you know what? I'm going to see episode 3 and then we'll talk. Do you have a quiz for the people?
What subject matter?
Do you have one for travelers?
Oh, I don't have one for travelers.
Okay.
We are getting new Trek soon, unfortunately.
I'm not going to make you watch it week to week. We can just come in the half season and talk about the whole half season. I know that trying to get you to break down every week's episode would be a disaster. So we can check in on Trek.
You want me to become a heroin addict? That's how.
Yeah,
you
I'm
get
not
me
going to make you go
addict.
mad. Don't worry. No, you can when the half season's over, you can just binge the half season as painlessly as possible, and we'll talk about it then.
All right.
If you want to do it drunk, I'm not going to stop you.
Oh my god, I'm going to have to because the show is so bad all around.
All right. But yeah, so what have you got? Do you have a quiz? You can do Counterpart. You can do BattleTech. Go for it. Anything you want.
BattleTech's an easy one.
All right, hit us.
All right, Battle of Tukid. How many objectives did Clan Diamond Shark achieve up there too?
What?
Yeah.
This one is so over my head. I am interested to find out what the answer is. So how many of them?
How many of their 2 objectives
did they actually succeed in?
Yes.
Okay. All right. I am interested to find out what the hell's going on with that question. Okay. So as always, you're going to recommend more BattleTech?
I'm going to recommend BattleTech. I'm going to recommend a game called Kona.
Oh, isn't Kona great?
Kona is pretty good.
I'm only 2 hours into it, but
I only got 15 minutes in.
Wow, that's
I'm really enjoying it. And Pillars of Eternity, as always.
Of course. Yeah.
I stumbled on the second one on sale, snapped it up.
Yeah,
pleased with my
good.
decision.
It's really good. And what else am I seeing? And let's see. For me, I'm going to recommend. It's year end, so I want to take a minute to recommend everybody who missed Fist of the North Star. Go and play the Fist of the North Star game. It's the best. It's Fist of the North Star. These guys. It's the most fun you'll have punching people until their heads explode. And I think that's all the recommendation I need. Also, did you ever play Virtua Cop?
Oh, like the arcade game?
Yeah, the arcade game.
Yeah.
Okay, so for people who have VR, and you're just going to have to come over and try this, because I know you don't have a VR setup. But for anybody out there who has VR, I'm going to recommend the game Crisis Brigade. So like Brigade, but VR. It's a terrible pun. It is basically, in every respect, like Virtua Cop that you are inside of.
I'm totally down with that.
I know you're going to be totally down with that. It's amazing. Like, it is a perfect recreation of Virtua Cop / Time Crisis, because also there's a using cover element. So, like, there is a bank heist going on, and it is your job to shoot all of the criminals. And you have to, like, duck behind columns and, like, lean out and shoot guys from behind cover. And there are multiple paths through the bank. The whole thing takes about 5-6 minutes to play. but there are multiple paths and different rooms you can go to, and like attack people from different angles depending on which path you take. Like, it's very well thought out, and it is a perfect recreation of the Virtua Cop experience in VR. So, yeah, it's called Crisis Brigade, and I want to recommend it way more highly than I thought I was going to. But yeah, like, someone has taken like our love for that genre and that specific game and recreated it in an experience that you can live inside of. So yeah, be excited. All right. So that's that. If you want to join us back here, we're going to be here either next week or possibly this weekend, depending on Gun Wrangler's schedule.
Yep.
I'm going to watch episode 3 and the 3 Travelers tonight, so I'm good whenever you are to go. Because either we're going to get caught
four?
up... what's that?
4 episodes.
4? You want me to watch 4 episodes of Travelers?
Yeah. Might as well make it to the end.
Are there only 8 episodes?
Oh, wait. No, there's 10.
Yeah, so no. We'll do... I'll just do another 3 to get us to 7, and then we'll do... no, this was 304 to 306. Oh. Well, no, yeah. Well, I'll do 308. This will do 307 to... No, wait. We watched 306 this week. So, yeah, it's 4 to get to 10. I forgot what episode we were on. You're right. I thought they did 13 episodes again, but I was wrong. Okay. So, yeah, if they only did 10 episodes, I'll just watch the other 4. And then I'll be all caught up on Counterpart. And I'll be all caught up on Travelers as well.
All right. Sounds good.
All right, so we'll meet you back here for that. I don't know when that episode is going up yet, but be on the lookout for it soon. Because it's either going to be... Either way, it's 303 and the rest of Travelers Season 3. Sorry, Counterpart 203 and the rest of Season 3 of Travelers. That's 7 to 10. And that's either going to be this weekend or next week. And I swear we're going to catch up on Travelers and be current soon. I just don't know if it's happening this weekend or next week. So... One of these weeks, there's going to be 2 episodes, and that's going to allow us to get caught up on Travelers. But I don't know if it's going to be this weekend yet. It's, again, I don't know what your schedule is. So, I will see you all back here for that. But until then, I'm going to say au revoir.